The Toronto Blue Jays are in an absolute free fall, and we said they hit rock bottom. They've stayed at rock bottom for the past couple of days here, and the Jays may be looking to be sellers at this year's deadline. They're currently 8 games back of the final wild card spot, and it's not looking to turn the corner either. So we'll break that down and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside a host, Nick Gosse. Now, a happy Canada Day to all of you. No upload yesterday. Nick was pretty busy on the Leafs front of things. Very busy day for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hopefully, they can turn things around for Toronto sports fans. But the Blue Jays, Nick, not so good. And shout out to Nick as well for holding it down these past few days. Always, always could count on him for that. But Nick, Jays, a lot of reports coming out that they may be sellers at this year's deadline, and it's looking more and more likely, especially considering the performances of Bichette, and they're just not gaining any ground right now in the wild card race. And they played okay against the Yankees. They split a 4 game set. I mean, that's all you can expect from them at this point, but it's I don't really have the words. It's not getting any better right now. And the one silver lining that I will take out of this is that Vladdy has been fantastic. He looks like his old 2021 self. Not only is he hitting for average, he is smacking the ball out of the ballpark, hitting home runs left, right, and center. And he has unlocked his power. Maybe we could give some credit to the hitting staff for the first time in the past 2 years because they seem to have been working alongside him, and he seems to have changed something. I'd have to look at his at bats to really see what he's changed. But Nick, very encouraging sign there, but the rest of the team not so good apart from him and Spencer Horwitz.
Yeah, we have new reports indicating exactly who's getting traded and who's getting kept most likely. So let's dive into that now. So Bob Nightingale made a report yesterday saying the Blue Jays plan to place Yusei Kikuchi, Danny Jansen, Jimmy Garcia, Justin Turner, and Kevin Kiermaier on the trade block ahead of the 2024 MLB trade deadline per Bob Nightingale. And he also followed that up by saying they want to make one last run with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bichette and currently don't plan on trading them. So Vladdy is going to stay a Blue Jay past the deadline. Bichette seemingly is also going to stay a Jay past the deadline, obviously. But Peter, it looks like that Kikuchi, Jansen, Jimmy, Turner, and Kiermaier are all headed for the trade block. Doesn't mean all of them are going to get traded, but it seems like there's significant traction towards these guys getting moved. And the only one I'm really upset about here is Danny Jansen.
Yeah, I'm upset about Jimmy Garcia and Kikuchi as well. And the way that Justin Turner has been swinging the bat lately, I definitely think that there's going to be a market for him for maybe a cheap option, a veteran guy that can come in and play a minimal role, but could definitely help out a contending team. Like those guys all have value, and they'll be except for maybe Kevin Kiermaier, but those guys all have a place on good teams. Just the Jays, for whatever reason, have not been able to piece together good performances day in day out. Whether it's the offense that's going well, that's when the pitching goes to crap, and if the pitching is doing well, that's when the offense fails to do anything significant. So Nick, it's been a very disappointing season to put it lightly, and I think we're 84 games into the year now. It's settled. The dust has settled, and the Blue Jays are not going to be in the playoffs this season unless a miraculous turnaround happens, which I don't see happening. I just don't envision a way in which this team could sneak into the playoffs. I know that teams around Major League Baseball have underperformed a lot this year, but the Jays have been arguably the biggest disappointment around the league, and it's not turning itself around. And we could kid ourselves and say that yeah, they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to rattle off 20 wins in 25 games, but we just haven't seen that kind of dominance from them in the past 2 years. So unless Vladdy continues this pace for the rest of the season and Bo becomes September Bo again, I don't see the season turning itself around. And yeah, considering how weak the farm system is, it would be a detriment to the future of the Blue Jays if they didn't go out and recoup some assets at the trade deadline because Jansen, Kiermaier, not Kiermaier, Jansen, Turner, Garcia, and Kikuchi could all fetch you some pretty decent prospects. And then your retool, as you call it, looks a little bit more advanced than it would if you were to keep those guys and then lose them for nothing at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, selling at this point is almost inevitable. I think Ross Atkins is hoping for a miracle run over the next couple weeks to give them a reason to buy. But I think at this point, that's a bit too far gone. They're now 7 to 8 games back of a wild card spot. And they had a good series against the Yankees, and they still lost ground or barely made up any ground whatsoever. And an interesting article by Ben Nicholas Smith was dropped, and I want to bring it up a little bit. It kind of compares the past deadlines to the future deadlines, also indicating as well that the Jays will sell next month. So just another report doubling up on that. But basically, it goes over how Ross Atkins said that they're prepared to take 2 to 3 different angles, either winning, rebuilding, retooling, whatever it ends up being. But Peter, out of these options I'm about to give you, I'm curious to see which one you would like to do. So there's kind of the option of making need for need trades, and kind of gives examples of this offseason or this trade deadline, trading Kevin Kiermaier away for a promising reliever, something like that. They could go and sell and get big leaguers back, similar to what they did in 2017, where they traded Francisco Liriano for Norioki and Teoscar Hernandez. Or they could also just kind of blow it up and retool completely, or resell completely, which it doesn't seem like that's the option. I think at this point, buying is almost out of the question. It's more so about how they're going to go about selling. And I personally think this might be the way they go about it, where they sell but get big leaguers back, even though they probably should be going for the prospect route. I think maybe a trade similar to the Liriano one, where you're getting a promising prospect and you're getting in theory, who was Norioki, who was an MLBer at the time.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the prospect route is necessarily the most effective one, and I'll say it like this, because if you do want to keep Vladdy in town, if you do want to keep Bo in town, you're not going to get prospects that are years away from the major leagues. You're going to want to get guys that are going to help your major league team in let's say a year or two, or maybe even three. Okay, so if you do decide to re-sign Vladdy and Bo, then you're going to have to get some major league talent in return. I'm not saying that they're going to have to be immediate starters and come in and fill a void for the Blue Jays, but if you do trade Kevin Kiermaier, let's say, you're going to want to get someone that can help your major league team, and I doubt that you're going to get a blue chip prospect for him. So you're going to try to maybe get a reclamation project that you can control and have for a few years' time, similar to like an Eric Swanson type of thing. You won't get someone that good, but someone in that realm, right? And same thing with Justin Turner. You're not going to get a number one
Yeah.
prospect for him. You're probably going to get a solid big leaguer, right? You're going to get someone that will maybe play a role for you down the line, but can't expect huge things right out of the gate. I think this is more of a retool situation for the Blue Jays. They just need to find um, guys that will be here for the long haul and try to get rid of some of those expiring contracts. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Try to get close to major league ready players in return. Don't sell off assets if you're just going to get lottery ticket prospects, because that hasn't really panned out for the Blue Jays in the past few years.
Yeah, I think ultimately they're going to make some deals for some MLB players, because if they don't, then who knows if Bo and Vladdy and all those guys will stay. But let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. What do you think the best route for the Blue Jays is to take given their current point, and let us know. See you soon.